Hi, and welcome to Duende. Today we protect cookies from JavaScript access with a simple flag. If you haven't already, make sure to check out the previous videos and subscribe to our channel so you'll be the first to know when new content drops. And of course, give this video a like if you find it useful. Now, let's see how to protect cookies from potentially malicious JavaScript. Here is the Duende Identity Server sample application, courtesy of the Duende templates. Arguably the fastest way to spin up a system and experiment with it. So, after logging into the system and then going into the browser DevTools, we can see 3 cookies. The first one is the ASP.NET Core anti-forgery cookie, which helps prevent cross-site request forgery attacks. Make sure you watch our video on that topic. Then there are 2 cookies specific to IdentityServer, idsrv and idsrv.session. When inspecting their properties, we can see that 2 of those 3 cookies have the HttpOnly flag set, and 1 does not. Switching into the browser console, we try to access the JavaScript property document.cookie and notice that JavaScript only sees the idsrv.session cookie, not the others. In practically all cases, JavaScript doesn't need access to those cookies, so it absolutely makes sense to hide them. Cookies were invented back in 1994 to let web applications remember things, because HTTP itself is stateless. At that time, cookies were the only way to store data on the client side. The local storage and session storage APIs came about 15 years later, so that's why historically JavaScript was allowed to read cookies, but today that's rarely necessary. As mentioned, HttpOnly is a flag added when cookies are sent to the client via the set-cookie HTTP header. In ASP.NET Core, setting an HttpOnly cookie is easy. When adding the cookie to the HTTP response, just set the HttpOnly option to true. If you want all your cookies to use HttpOnly, and you probably do, you can define a cookie policy. Instead of a Boolean, you'll use an enumeration with possible values always, as shown here, and none. When using ASP.NET Core's built-in session management, a cookie holds the session ID of the user and sends it with every request. This cookie also supports HttpOnly and it's enabled by default. Still, it's a good practice to be explicit and set the HttpOnly property to true. And just in case you're wondering why the idsrv.session cookie doesn't use HttpOnly, that's by design. It's part of the OpenID Connect Session Management specification. In single-page applications, JavaScript needs to read the cookie to check whether the user has been logged out. That's intentional and safe because the cookie doesn't contain information that could identify the user or access their session. So why do we want to protect cookies from JavaScript access in the first place? It's not about your own code. It's about malicious code that might have been injected, typically through an attack called cross-site scripting, or XSS. We'll talk about XSS and ways to prevent it in upcoming videos, so make sure you stay tuned.